Just, I'm not used to that kind of sense of humor because you kept smiling. Okay, we're apparently live, but let me just double check on the other end because there's always a 30 or 40-second delay. Okay, hang on. All right, we are live. All right, hey guys, thanks so much for joining me for my regular Wednesday night live stream. You might recognize the face that I'm looking at. He has his own channel. He is Dave Lee. His particular expertise happens to be China. He recently featured also on friend and fellow YouTube channel Wilmsfront. And also, I feel it necessary to credit my friend Margaret, who reached out to Dave Lee to make it happen. Little did I know I had already been reached out earlier in the year, but my freaking Facebook is so random. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate having you on, Dave Lee.
No, yeah, thanks for having me on. Hello, Margaret, if you're out there. And yeah, so we're going to talk about China, or are we going to talk about how to grow a YouTube channel? It's up to you. It's entirely up to you.
We're not going to talk about how to grow a YouTube channel. But my first question is, are you related to Brandon Lee or Bruce Lee?
I believe there's a possibility I might be related to Bruce Lee. I have abs. That could be, you know, something that we have in common.
It could be. And also the surname Lee. But he's quarter. He was quarter white. He was a quarter white.
I get it.
He wasn't full Asian. Now you get it.
It's the last name. Got me.
It's the last name. Gotcha.
Well, Lee's the most common name in the world, I believe. It's the most common name in the world. Last name, I believe.
Lee and Smith, maybe.
Maybe
Lee and Smith and Khan.
Yeah.
And Cheng.
I think there's more Lees being born every second in China, so therefore there's a few more Lee. I think they've overtaken recently. They've got the gold medal at the moment.
I like your jokes, Andy.
Wuhan flu. Well, I like to call it. I do like to call it the Chinese virus. I think Donald Trump had it right from the very beginning. It came from China.
Yes, he did. We agree.
The Spanish flu came from, in the comments, Spain. Came from Spain.
That's actually not true.
Look. Let's not rewrite history. Came from Spain.
Okay. I'm a revisionist.
Yeah. It came from China. Okay. It's called the Chinese flu, Chinese virus, whatever you want to call it. So.
No, all good.
Everybody.
There you go. What were we going to say?
No, you're right.
All right, sorry. This is something that I do on all of my live streams. So I'm sorry. I know you're a heathen, but I'm going to just read out a Bible verse. That's my polite way of saying you're not a believer. Let me just read out a Bible verse, and then we can get it going. So this is from the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verses 6-7. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guide your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. So try not to worry, give it all to the Lord. All right, let's begin with questions. All right, as in not the audience questions. Yeah, the China flu. Okay, so my first question here written down is what made you start your YouTube channel based on China?
Well, oh gee. I was, especially in the early days, I was quite excited about this new country that was rising, and this country was making everybody else rich. And then we had this understanding that China would rise, they would become more wealthy, and next thing you know, China would become a democracy, and they would have a fair and open society. Did you guys know that China oppresses religion? Did you guys know that?
I did. Yeah. They put Muslims in tanks of water. They hate Christians. And I had a woman on my channel. She made me cry. Her name is Jennifer Zhang, and she's from the ideology known as Falun Gong. Falun Gong. Thank you. And they make them stand like this for like 18 hours or something. Yeah, it's China is horrible to people. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, Falun Gong, Falun Dafa, the Tibetans,
Yeah.
um, uh, the Christmas was banned a few
Oh, I
years
didn't know
ago.
that.
So Africans are being persecuted as well. I think everyone except for a Han Chinese is fine. And the religion of money. I think that's the religion that they believe in over there. So
Muddy,
money,
M-A-R-I. Oh, money,
money.
money. Sorry, I did not hear you. Money. Yes.
Chinese New Year from everything about Chinese New Year is about becoming more wealthy. Uh,
Mhm.
so that's kind of the problem with China. So I guess we go back to how I discovered the threat and started talking about the threat is they didn't become a free and open society, and one of the biggest turning points, I dare say, in the next 20, 30 years, we'll look back and we'll realize that when China took the South China Sea, or I like to call it the West Philippine Sea, that was the biggest turning point in Australia's history. Um, and we just let that moment pass, and we ignored it, and the our elite let us down. Politicians, the advisors, the analysts, they all let us down. So um, yeah, started in 2015.
Do you believe that that China has had an agenda towards this country for quite some time?
Yes, yes. I think there's a clear agenda. Definitely, there's definitely a clear agenda. We have this massive country that obviously I think everybody's covered this. We have a lot of resources.
I
Uh,
haven't. Yeah.
we have uh, clean air, clean water, things that they don't have in China. There's
Mm.
only a few million people here compared to their 1.4 to 1.7 billion people over there. They could literally drop 100 million people here overnight. They have
Mhm.
such a huge population, and they would love to be able to do that. So they're a huge threat to our sovereignty in every way, shape,
Yeah.
and form. Uh, in every way, really. And so I guess we last year we made a big decision. We decided to go with our fight back and not focus on building our economy anymore and focus on our security. And that's kind of why the rhetoric has fired up so much in the media, because our politicians decided to go with America. And this is not going to change. It's only going to continue to escalate.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that part of the plan? So, years and years ago, Australia had something called I forgot what it's called. During the Whitlam government or before the Whitlam government, Australia was predominantly a white European nation. And then they started letting in different immigrants, and which I have no issue with because then I wouldn't be able to be here as a Colombian Spanish Australian, which is just a random sentence. That's not something a lot of people are. But they started letting in uh, different people of different nationalities, and then the Koreans and the Chinese boom happened, and now the neighborhoods don't look how they used to because even though they assimilate in the context of uh, in the context of like academics and all that kind of stuff, they don't really assimilate all the time the way a fellow European would in social protocols and all that kind of stuff. So, do you think it was intentional to let the Chinese in, despite how different they are or were to Western society?
I don't think really that people have had a plan. I guess that's part of the problem. That there's not a real plan. It was let anybody in that could afford to come in and get a visa.
So you don't think
We
it was a plan?
I don't that I the problem is, well, this is just my opinion. I don't
Go.
think that our government plans that far ahead or is intelligent enough to have such a convoluted plan. I just think that it's just organic and that this just happened. uh,
Mm.
some people do believe that there's plans, but I don't think that those people, if someone put together a plan, where are they now? Where were they before? What were they doing now? Has the plan succeeded? Or the only plan really
I don't
is,
know.
and therefore there doesn't seem to be a plan. It's just an organic mistake that they made. And China has been planning to send as many of their CCP members down here to take control of as many
So
aspects
you
of our
think
society as possible.
you think
100%.
China had the plan, but
100%.
not. But you don't think Australia's government was that smart because you've just said that our government's not that smart. That could well be true.
No, no,
They
our
haven't
government.
displayed much intelligence in the last couple of years, the 30 years, let's say.
Mm. Our government has just focused on domestic policy and they've left uh, our position in the world up to the United States. They haven't really focused on anything except for domestically, just liberal versus Labor. You know,
Mm.
we have never been we have never been threatened ever. So therefore, everyone's become complacent. Hey Tim, how you going? Um, so yeah, we've never been threatened in our entire history. So therefore, we've become complacent, and we haven't needed to put anything in place to protect ourselves.
Yeah. So you think so? Your opinion is perhaps something like, oh, the Whitlam government did what they did. They opened the doors for more immigrants. China took advantage of it, and boom, this is why we're here for this. It was sort of more of a oh, they stuffed up, as in us Australians stuffed up, and now all of our land is being bought by China and
Mm.
so on and so forth. That you so you really think China, you really believe China to be as calculated as it is.
Yeah, China is really calculated that way because as soon as China opened up, what they did was they started. Yes, Box Hill. What was that lady's name?
Which lady?
Gladys Liu. Gladys Liu. She's a
Oh, I don't know who that
CCP
is.
member. She's a Box Hill police station. She's infiltrated our government. She is connected to the CCP. This is the type of threat that we face in this country, and it's an organized threat by a country that is what has a population 60 times larger than ours, and we have everything that they desire in the world. We can breathe without dying from pollution. That's did you know that in yeah, that's right, Gladys Liu. You can go to China and buy air from Australia in a bottle. Did you know that?
Are you joking?
Yeah.
No, that's hilarious.
And just if you can buy air in a bottle, imagine how precious it would be to actually move here. Our government has let us down because they should have had a screen where we figure out how much money they actually do have, and the maximum would be, say, $5 million for a permanent residency for a CCP member. It would have limited the flow in. And
Mm,
early in the early in the piece, we would have a lot of Chinese send their sons and daughters to get a university degree, and then they might pay more than we do as born and bred Aussies.
mm,
But as soon as they finish, they get permanent residency, then they get citizenship, then they bring mum and dad over, they buy some property. We have a property bubble, which is possibly going to burst really soon. And then what we do is, if you look in all the CBDs in every city in Australia, we have
yeah.
an exodus of Australians. I can walk down George Street and actively go out of my way to speak to 10 people and go, "Hi, how you going? Where do you think I'm from?" They're like, "Oh, I don't know where you're from, but I'm from Japan, I'm from China, I'm from Indonesia, whatever. But seriously, where do you think I'm from? You know, I speak English, and they're like, Germany. Because the reason why people in the CBDs don't know where I'm from is because they've never met an Australian. The CBDs don't have any Aussies. You can walk
Oh,
around there.
wow.
You can walk around and just speak to strangers. They just won't even know who you are, where you're from. I
Well,
think the amount of times
yeah.
people in Europe is ridiculous. I'm like, really? Really? I even say "g'day, mate," and they won't even register because they don't even know what that means. So,
I think you're right. It's I'm living in New South Wales, and I'm in like a town, so like everyone is. I'm probably the most ethnic person in this town.
oh, okay.
But
So like a white bread neighborhood, like a white
yes,
bread.
but you're
Yeah.
right. I think
Mm.
Sydney is more ethnic and diverse racially, multiculturally than Melbourne. And Melbourne is extremely racially diverse and multicultural. But every time I'm in Sydney, yeah, I completely agree with you. So that's funny that like people think you're German. There's no insult
Yeah.
there, but like it's funny that they don't guess Australian.
Yeah, exactly. I recently went to Newcastle to do a podcast, and we went to the local shopping center to get a coffee before the podcast,
Hmm.
and I felt strange because there were so many white people. I'd never seen so many white people in my life. I felt
That's
scared.
weird.
I
You
was like,
felt
what?
scared.
I was like, this isn't. Because I very rarely meet Australians. Like speaking to you and speaking English is it's very strange for me living in Sydney anyway.
That's so funny.
Mm.
Do you speak any other languages?
No, just broken English with most of the people who live here. Like, hello,
Sorry, that's funny.
how are you? It's
Your English
true
is
though.
very
That's
good. I'm pretty proud of your
thank you.
English. You're doing quite well.
It,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. But it's hard. It's hard to have a good conversation these days, especially in the
Fair enough.
city. Mm.
Well, your interview with Tim was fantastic. You had there was a lot of insight there that was given. So that was really,
Mm.
really good. You articulate
I think
yourself well.
Tim. Yeah, I think with Tim we focus on more the macro geopolitical situation, the big picture. Mm,
I'm
yeah,
focusing on bits and pieces rather than just the overall big picture because whilst I love a good conspiracy theory like the next person, I do believe that you should look at the media what they say, then look at alternative sources and see what they say, and then I suppose present them as best you can and get the people watching to make their own minds up. Um,
so what
so
do you think about the virus? How deadly do you think the virus is?
I think there are multiple strains of that particular virus. I mean, it doesn't matter now. It exists, right? But my understanding is that there are multiple strains of that virus. There is footage of different people, young and old, who are dying of it now. I think if you're 93 and people say, oh shit, she died of COVID-19, I'm like, really? She didn't die of pneumonia. She didn't die of, a heart attack. It's specifically this COVID-19 that you're claiming. But yeah, I think there are different strains. Is that correct? Because you obviously know about this topic better than I do. I'm not going to pretend that I
I
know
don't.
things when I don't know. Eight
I have
strains.
no idea.
Oh, I thought you. Okay, so there are eight strains.
Eight
Okay, yeah,
strains.
I trust Sandy. Sandy's actually an extremely intelligent individual. He's my
Yeah.
friend. Yeah, so eight strains apparently. One of them
So then,
must be deadly, and the other ones are probably not deadly. I don't know.
okay. Mm, yeah. I guess what when you look at the
Why did you
data,
ask me that?
I guess when you look at the data, it doesn't seem that dangerous.
No, it doesn't, does it? I
Mm,
agree. But then you see people recording themselves saying, "I'm dying of this,"
mm,
and or not dying, but they're like, "Oh, everyone, wash your hands and be careful," and blah 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 blah. So like, it's
mm.
you know. But I
But
want to ask you: do you believe that the disease began in the wet markets? Do you believe that's a thing that one, or do you believe it was a biochemically made in a lab, which is sort of where I'm leaning? But again, I don't think anyone really knows except for the
mm,
people who are part of that.
I have no idea. But When we wanted to put together an investigation, China threatened us. So it's like
Oh, see? Interesting.
so so it's like what you often see in Sydney CBD is you see a drug dealer with a bag, and the police go over and say, "Can I look in the bag?" And the drug dealer says, "No, you can't look in the bag. You
Mm-hmm.
can't." So it just seems like they're guilty if they don't want an investigation. Uh, Wherever it came from, who knows? Who knows? We do know that it started in Wuhan. That's one thing that we know for sure.
Yeah.
But uh, I have a contact in Wuhan who is
Yes, I
now
heard you
back,
tell that to Tim. Mm.
and he yeah, this contact uh, got locked down straight away. So arrived and was locked in, and so we're pretty certain that it came from Wuhan. Whether it came from a bat or a pig or a lab or anything, who knows? All
Mm-hmm.
China, the Chinese people believe. I can tell you something for sure.
Yeah.
Is that the Chinese people believe that this was planted by the United States. So so therefore the CCP is pushing that uh, Jason Bourne or
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise Mission Impossible flew in on
Mm.
some special aircraft and planted it there, and Jason Bourne style got out of the country. That movie's coming out soon, probably in a cinema in China next year.
Wow.
Um, no, I just made that up. It's not coming out in the cinema, but it sounds like a movie to
I was
me.
just letting you speak.
But yeah, that's what they believe. And if you speak to a Chinese person,
Yeah.
they find it hard to uh, it's hard to talk to a Chinese person about this these days. They believe that the United States planted it.
Is it like talking to
Uh,
Germans about Israel or like?
I don't know. I think I'm the only German in Sydney, so I don't know.
Are you
You'll have to.
actually German?
No, I'm not German. We're just talking about that. We're just talking about
No,
that.
I know, but I thought, oh, he's actually German.
No,
Um, so you
Aussie.
don't think Aussie, yeah, yeah. You don't think
Yeah.
China is acting alone. So you think the US is somehow having a hand in this big big. Can, can you explain your perspective on that?
Um, on
You
the
ju-
virus, where it came
well, you
from,
just said
or
that something about the United States. You said that United States. One thing's for sure, China didn't act alone, and that China and that the United States is somehow a part of it. Did you say that? Did I misunderstand you?
no, yeah, I didn't say that. I didn't say
No,
that.
sorry.
Mm, mm.
Did
But yeah,
Chi- but did China act alone? Do you think?
act alone. Well, their best friends are Russia and Iran, and
That's true.
let's just be honest here. Our Team Blue, which is our team, we are doing everything that we can to destroy Iran and Russia as we speak. So what it really is we can't. China started this back in 2014, where they militarized the sea, and
Oh,
since
oh
then
yes, you
we've
were telling me
started
about
to
this.
slowly wake up. That's the turning point. 6 years ago,
Yeah, tell us. Tell
people were
everyone
like,
for those
"Hang
who are
on,
not aware.
oh well, the South China Sea. That's what
South
started
China Sea.
this.
Mm.
Everything goes back to the South China Sea. The South China Sea, 2012, they started building these artificial islands. By 2014, they were complete and they were militarized, and that was the biggest turning point in Australia's history. Nothing else compares to that. Nothing. World
Nothing.
War One, World
Mm.
War Two, uh, South China Sea was the biggest turning point in our entire history. It's a big deal.
And it's ongoing, isn't it?
Um, yes,
Mm.
yes, that is definitely. It's not going to stop. China's strategy now is I liken it to a dog and a bone, and they're just going to keep going for the bone, and you're going to have to fight the dog for the bone. China's got no strategy. They they just go in one direct. Uh, was this Dave? What do you think of the Confucius Centers in Western universities and yeah? So
We usually
Queensland.
do questions in the last 20 minutes. I don't know why they're asking questions now. They know the routine, but go ahead, answer since you've already looked at the comment. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Confucius Institutes. They pump money into our universities. They teach Chinese, and then what they do is they try to brainwash our students. That's pretty much the strategy. Um, and more recently, we've had some drama in Queensland, um, with a guy by the name of True Pavlov. I interviewed him on my channel. We had a little discussion. He's been kicked out of the university for standing up, and um, yeah. So this is a bit of a problem for all of our universities. It's just propaganda, really. And the problem is, a lot of people in universities, they go to learn, and so they just assume that what they're being taught is the truth. Uh, but part
That's the problem, yeah, with all
of
universities. Yeah.
part of the deal is that every single uh, university is banned from talking about topics like Hong Kong and Taiwan and the Tiananmen massacre. Anything, they're all banned. So this is kind of the issue that we deal with these Confucius Institutes, and it's only escalating. They're only going to continue coming this direction at us. It's not going to stop anytime soon, that's for sure. Mm.
Yeah, well,
I will
that's.
like one
Go
thing,
ahead.
because you were mentioning race and how things have changed in Australia. China's pushing
Yes.
one thing which is very, very powerful. I think this is quite juicy.
Okay.
What they are pushing is that all Westerners are racist,
Oh,
and that
lovely.
every every opportunity that they get, they're pushing that we are racist, and it is a very powerful strategy, because what a lot of people who are immigrants to Western countries, they do have a little bit of insecurity. They feel as if um, they do feel insecure, and by having China pushing that we are all racist, it works to divide our country. Whether it's true or not is
Yeah.
ridiculous. And we have had in Australia, we have had social media stars become famous because they pushed how racist Australia was. Massive YouTubers, and then they've go back to places like Japan and Korea, Indonesia, with millions of subscribers. This is something that we have been dealing with for quite a while, and our media hasn't addressed it, actually. If anything, our media has been complicit. They're happy to attack people that, they're happy to attack people who criticize the Chinese Communist Party and call them racist as well. So,
Hmm.
so far, China seems to be winning
Well, that's the
with the
plan.
propaganda.
That's the plan that the elites have. They want to turn fat people against skinny people, white people against black people, Jews against Gentiles, um, Asians against Australia. Like, that's the overall plan. And so the media. Oh, hello?
Yeah, I'm here. What happened?
I can't see your face. Your beautiful face is gone. There we go. All right. Yeah.
I'm back. Something
Oh,
happened.
you're back, you're
Mm,
back. So that's the issue. The issue is that the media is perpetuating that because that's the goal anyway. Like, and we all know that.
mm,
You and I see through that. Most of my audience sees through that. Tim Wilms and all these other YouTube channels see through that. This is just another way to get red pilled. Just another branch on the tree of many types of red pilling. Um, and so it's
mm.
ridiculous that China would even claim that when they're completely homogenous and Australia completely lets them in. What a retarded argument.
Yeah, well, that's the issue here is that it's just factually incorrect,
Easily,
and
yeah.
that's what makes it propaganda. But the problem is when you are an immigrant to Australia and deep down you feel a little bit insecure, or you feel inferior, dare I say, uh, you are more likely to believe it when it's just not true. Then blaming, you will start blaming Australia for you not having a good job.
Ugh,
A lot,
I hate that
a lot of
thinking.
Asian men in Australia feel inferior. This is a fact, and there's huge communities of uh, single Asian men in every Western country that feel left out because they can't get a girlfriend or they can't get a white girlfriend. And it is a huge issue for them. And so what happens is you have China come in and say it's because they're racist, and that justifies everything. And it's kind of tearing us apart from within, which is a huge issue. And when they go and rant online, they gain a huge following, and
Mm.
it's a huge issue. It's tearing us apart, and I think it's a silent problem that no one's really addressed. I've tried to address it in the past, doesn't work. Mm.
Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. My issue with all of this is that we are always, well, I say we, I don't know where I sit in the category of whiteness, but we are always deemed as the enemy, and because it's so easy to just cry racism. And I don't think there is any real racism the way it existed in the past, say in the days where white people used to kill black people for fun, or where or that to me is real racism. Racism today, if I say if I'm driving my car and it's an Asian in front of me and I'm like, oh, I bet it's an Asian, how slow they're driving, that is that really that evil a statement to make based on a stereotype of based on a racial group? That to me is not really racist. I don't hate Asian people. I don't hate any people. So I believe that yeah, the word racism is thrown around, and China obviously knows the stupidity of the West, and so they're using that as a way to try and manipulate us and the
Divide
media.
us.
It's quite intelligent, isn't it?
And I think long term they will eventually win, because
They will.
we do have we do have a lot of insecure Asian people that feel inferior in our country, and uh, it's a huge problem. It really is. It's a huge problem, but there's almost nothing we can do about it. It's a huge problem.
Well, something
Um,
that I think a lot of people have noticed is the fact that Australia and most Western societies have closed their borders and that the economies are slow and non functioning. China's economy right now is relatively booming, right? Could that is that accurate statement? It seems quite convenient and lucky for them. Do you think that was an end goal for them?
I wouldn't trust any of the data coming out of China.
No,
uh,
I wouldn't either.
I just look at any data that you read coming out of China is just anecdotal. It's just their opinion.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
They just come out and say that you just don't know. You really don't know what's going on in China.
Well, what about your
But
friend, your contact in China? Is it a high functioning society once again?
they've gone back. They've gone back.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to discuss this. To be honest, I just have no idea how they're doing at the moment. But if you look at what just happened, we shut down the global economy. So therefore, China is a exporting nation. So they definitely rely on uh, exporting, and 15% of shipping container have the amount of shipping containers going through the sea has reduced by upwards of 15%.
Mm,
That's only China the most. Therefore, there's going to be a lack of the reserve currency going into China. Uh, and
okay.
China needs that reserve currency. That's going to hurt China, of course. We blockaded Iran, therefore shipments less demand because the planes and the cars and less demand on oil, so therefore there was a lower supply of oil, yet the production rate was still high, so therefore the price of oil collapsed. That
Oh,
hurts their friend Russia. That hurts Russia because Russia is pretty much just one big petrol station. Russia's like a big petrol station, and the guy behind the counter has a shotgun, so they just have guns and they sell fuel.
yeah.
That's their economy. The best way to explain their economy, and that has we've also created all of this hatred towards China, which 12 months
Which
ago,
isn't healthy. Mm.
well, you might say it's not healthy. I think that
Hate,
it's
hate
good
is not
because,
healthy.
well, the thing is, China was winning, and the United States needed to get the political will to take action against China. This is two people going up against each other, uh, the United States and China, two countries going head to head, and they're both going to be throwing punches. So neither one of them is good. You just want to get out of the way of those punches, and uh, we're not going back to a peaceful society that is run by the United States, and we can just sit back and be
No,
complacent. That's not going to happen anymore. We
that's very
are
scary
we
to
are
think
going
about.
towards a more and more dangerous society. Was it who's best place to come out on top after the trade war with the United States?
That's
Uh,
Margot Reigns. She's the
I
queen.
am I am a China bull. I believe
Hmm.
China is going to win, and that's why I'm out here complaining about China and the threat. And the problem is with the United States and Australia, what we're doing is we are cutting ourselves off. You can't really uh, thrive by becoming more of a mercantilist society. You need to engage with other countries. And we're not as much as we should be. I believe that we should be engaging more, but putting policies in place that protect the Australian people. Recently, a politician by the name of Christina, she said, "Look, um, how about we stop immigration for a short while because we have almost 20% unemployment and we give the Australian people jobs." She was hated on by her own party. I think it was Labor, uh, because they want to bring more immigrants in. And so it has nothing to do with the Australian people. And these are the policies that need to change. We need to protect the Australian people while still engaging with China. So,
Oops.
so when China complains about us protecting jobs for the Australian people, what you do is you go, "Oh, Scott Morrison did it, hate him, but we're going to go ahead with this policy anyway," and play the game that China played with us for 30 years. We need to have, we need to make sure that Australian people have jobs first. Uh, we need to make sure that people straight out of high school have access to either university or
Oh, I
jobs.
agree with that. Yes, yes.
People that come from low socioeconomic status families, they suffer the most. They miss out. The biggest problem is that people come from middle class families that didn't break up. They're together. They get good advice from their parents. Their parents might even have uh, properties, and then these middle class people, they get an education and they go straight into property ownership with a high paying job when the low socioeconomic status people don't get a job, and there's almost nothing that they can do. I recently read a book by Joseph Stiglitz where he talks about um, how the number one decision that you can make to make sure that you are successful in our society, and that's United States, but it's more so in Australia, is who your
Mm.
parents are, and you don't get to choose who your parents are, and especially
No, you
when property prices are on average 40 times the average wage. It's almost impossible for someone who's 18 to get a property, have a family. It also damages their chances of having a family and the next generation of Australians. So what happens is they get replaced by Chinese people who come down here and push their own agenda in our country, and that's how we're being replaced. So when you go down George Street, these are the new elites of our country that are replacing our elites and infiltrating our politicians and infiltrating every aspects of our society. So all of these things are so damaging, and long term, you and me will just, even if we have a lot of money, we'll probably end up washing dishes and cleaning toilets.
Oh, bro, your predictions are so scary. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Imagine if 12 months ago, we had this discussion and I told you that we went back and tried to convince our past selves what was going to happen. Would your past self believe that you would be in the shit that you're in right now?
No, of course not.
No. Well, I'm telling you where you're going to be in the next 15 years. And it's not pretty, but
No, it's not. I hope you're wrong, but yeah, that's a scary thought.
But that's why I'm complaining so much, is because we're running out of runway to protect our domestic economy from this massive behemoth that is
Yeah, that's
coming
scary,
from
bro.
and you know we're pretty much like Russia. See, Russia's a big petrol station that buys guns, but we are a resource country that buys beer and watches the footy.
Yeah.
We don't even have the guns. So I complain about Russians, but we Russia knows from history that they can't be complacent. They've been people have tried to invade Russia many times. No one's ever really tried to invade Australia. And that's what we're going through right now. But the thing is, I have a lot of Chinese friends, and I've
Sure,
spent
same.
my time trying. I spent my time trying to be a kind of my own intelligence officer and just infiltrate and try to get information. They'll tell you, if they're your friends, they'll tell you that's the plan. And
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be? I don't blame them. If I was a Chinese guy moving here, I would love to come in here and try to overtake Australia. It would be like a massive game.
Oh, I
We're
completely agree.
20-something.
Let's
Yeah,
try and get
and
to the
we're
questions. I don't want anyone to miss out on asking a question. So Benjamin Tiny, that question's been up there for a while now. Has China stolen enough technology and stockpiled enough resources to switch to internal economic engine? Let's try and
no,
get through all of the questions.
they are struggling with the middle income trap. So I
I
don't
don't think
think
he knows.
their
Sorry, keep
domestic
going.
economy. Yeah, so I don't think that their domestic economy can um, sustain their entire economy. So they it's called the middle income trap. You can just Google it and have a little read what that means. China's been trying to avoid that, but I believe that the part of the reason why we have deliberately collapsed our economy and over exaggerated the deadliness of this virus and shut down flights all over the world and shut down everything is because we're trying to hurt China. I believe that there's an extra game. We're trying to get shoot two birds
With
with
one
or
stone.
hit two birds with one stone. We're trying to
Kill two birds with one stone. Yeah.
we're trying to multitask here
You just get
because
two really
China,
small birds and a really giant rock. No, just kidding.
yeah, yes. And we're throwing that rock at China and the virus at the same time. And we've got our fingers crossed. We're crossing our fingers and hoping that the middle income trap hurts them more than it hurts us. This is a
Yeah.
war of attrition that we're going through at the moment. Also, last year, I don't know if your audience has heard in the media. It was a big warning sign to me, but our media started talking about, hey, look, we only have enough fuel supply for 30 days. I don't know if you guys remember that that are listening at home, but that was a huge warning sign to me. When we start worrying about how much supply of fuel we have, that's when our government starts seriously considering a war. China has a supply for 2 months, and recently they started trying to extend that to 6 months. Why would you do that? You would only do that if something serious is about to happen. Then next thing you know, we deliberately collapsed the price of oil, and we're posturing our navies for blockading certain areas around the world. It's all related to China. The thing is, if China just minded their own business, didn't build a military, just stayed in their own region of the world, traded, got rich, mind their own business, we wouldn't be in this trouble, because China started it. The United States was happy to just sit back and go, oh, look, you can get rich, that's fine. America was happy to just allow it to happen. But then they started militarizing the sea. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I really want to get through the questions. Do you know anything about Confucius? Because Crescio is asking, what is the most profound thing Confucius says? I'm not sure if that was a joke question.
It's probably a joke. Many hands
Yeah.
make light work, and that's why they have 1.4 to 1.7 billion people.
There you go. Sandy Turner, will we have to inject a vaccine before Australia gets back to the way we were? That's a good question,
Very good
Sandy.
question. I'm not a scientist, although
Yeah.
I spoke to my ex-girlfriend now. She's a scientist in Oxford University.
Okay.
She said that this herd immunity theory will not work without a vaccine. And recently they started human trials on the vaccine over there in
Oh,
Oxford.
my eyes are red.
They're they're at the cutting edge. That's all I know.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. No lives matter. Hey, dude. Thanks for coming on my live chat. How do you feel about the potential fifth column that China has installed over the West? Will they actually do something and risk a pogrom? I don't know if I pronounced that right. Do you know what he's talking about or not?
I'm not exactly sure what he
Neither am I.
means.
No, neither do I. Okay, that's all right. Yeah, rephrase your question. No lives. Communist China. I don't know if this is a question. Communist China will lose if they went to war against Russia, USA, UK, and the British Commonwealth and India. USA plus Russia, with most nukes, is most likely to destroy not just the regime but the country. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, Russia and China are like that. They're best buddies. Xi Jinping gave Vladimir Putin like a best friend forever award. These guys like they sleep together in the same bed. They're best buddies. And they've been working together for a very long time, and it's partly the United States' fault, because the United States pushed Russia into bed with China. The United States just kept hammering away at Russia, thinking that they would just, hide in their region of the world, and nothing bad would happen. But look at the mess that we're kind of in today, and that's partly because of Britain. Because Britain, if you have a look at Europe, by the way, Europe is finished. I wouldn't
Oh,
really worry.
absolutely.
I wouldn't really worry too much about Europe. The most important area of the world is Asia right now. Yeah.
Okay, so Pissy Leaks Pete, can Australia possibly trade around China while stuck with CHAFTA, such as forming bilateral trade agreements with Taiwan?
If you if you have a trade agreement with Taiwan, China will cut you off 100%. They'll just cut you off. They tolerate third world countries that don't know any better, but their they buy their vote, and they separate them from Taiwan real fast. But Taiwan is domestically in China. Taiwan is the number one issue. Reunifying Taiwan to China is one of the biggest issues, and unfortunately, it seems like they will be willing to go to war with Taiwan uh,
Mm.
to take it back. Because domestically, it's such a huge issue for the Chinese people. If you speak to a Chinese person and try to discuss Taiwan, something snaps in their brain, and they get triggered like there's something wrong, something breaks in their brain, and they start screaming. It's like it's you want to trigger a Chinese, mention Taiwan, and how independent it is.
I'll
See
give it
how
a try one day. It'll be fun.
I do it.
Can Australia possibly trade around China? Oh, wait, I just read that, didn't I? He must have repeated the question. Okay, let's have a look.
Oh well, the question, I didn't actually properly finish that question. The problem is that the United
Okay.
States shut down the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Without the United States, the Trans-Pacific Partnership is not going to work. We that was partly what the TPP, that was really the goal of the TPP, was to build a trade agreement that excluded China. Um, uh, that's they're still trying to build that, but we're in a little bit a problem there when it comes to China. China is pretty much the largest trading partner of almost every country in Asia at the moment, so that's going to be tough.
Yeah, Port from Copper has another question. I have heard China has 40 trillion hidden debt and must expand the CCP regime. Will be over much like a Ponzi scheme. It's all very dysfunctional internally. Will the regime end?
Well, this is a theory that has been hovering around forever, is that debt is going to somehow destroy China for us, and we just need to wait for their debt problem to hurt them.
Mm,
So far, it hasn't happened. There's been many books. Gordon Chang wrote a book. David Shambaugh. These guys all
mm,
wrote books about the coming collapse of China, and it hasn't
mm,
happened because um, I believe that their growth rate has been enough that no matter how much debt they get into, they can grow out of their debt. And this is part of the reason why we're deliberately shutting down this economy at the moment. I believe that the overreaction on shutting down our economy,
mm,
uh, unless they're just stupid, which I don't believe they are. I
mm,
believe that this is a planned move. We're deliberately shutting down our economy to try to hurt China. We're over exaggerating the threat, um,
mm.
and the we'll probably end up seizing assets, um, and trying to hurt China as much as we can. But the thing is, with debt can disappear. People,
Mm.
internet, see, international politics is gangster. It's the best way I can describe it. I know some of my metaphors are a little bit out there, but
They're
uh,
entertaining.
international politics is gangster. It's like two
Mm,
mafia families going up against the other, and
mm,
debt can disappear, debt can be forgiven, but the most important thing is that what assets you own. So China has all these assets. They have all the capital. They've built everything at home. They've got all the factories. They're building the One Belt One Road initiative. They've built ghost cities, and so therefore, when people talk about debt, I'm like, hang on, you're talking about currency, that currency, that fiat currency that doesn't really matter. Fiat
mm.
currency is only used to buy things, and if China already has those things, China's rich, and this is why I'm a China bull. I believe China is winning. But then you look at the United States. I hear that the United States is looking like a third world country in some of their cities. You go down the streets,
Whew,
apparently,
yeah,
and
but that's because of the left. But yeah.
there's all these issues
Mm.
over there. But you go to China, and China's an extreme. Well, I definitely can't go there anymore. But last time I
I
went
don't think
there,
I can either. Yeah.
oh, you should be fine. You should be fine. I
Oh,
don't
because
think you saw anything bad.
I interviewed one of their apostates, whatever the word is, defectors.
Oh, Falun,
Jennifer
okay.
Zhang on the Falun Gong. So I might not
Hmm.
be able to go to China based on that, but I'm not really fast either way. Reg Penny, should Australia restart national service, end gun control laws, and did he ask this question already?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't.
Yeah.
Mm.
And arm the nation to defend ourselves from the communist regime. Australia is under
No.
the ANZ-US treaty. And Australia should. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. Go. Respond.
Yeah, one of those questions is domestic. The other one is, I guess, in international.
International.
Um, the thing is,
I don't know. You want to keep it on the screen?
one way I'd like to answer that is that when our economy starts to slow, and we feel more pressure from a regional hegemon like China.
Mm.
Unfortunately, this is when countries like any country, this has nothing to do with the personality of the people in charge. It has nothing to do with uh, our geographic location, the race, democracy, whatever.
Mhm.
When countries start to fall apart, like I foresee possibly our economy and our future becoming a little bit more dire, the politicians need to have a little bit more control of the people. They can't see freedom of speech
God,
and
I hope you're wrong. Mm.
freedom of movement
Mm.
and freedom of thought and your
Mm.
ability to complain about your leaders and say bad things about foreign leaders,
Who you want? Yeah.
that is only afforded to you when you are the leader. You are the most powerful country in that region. And as our economy starts to slow and our position in Asia becomes a little bit more risky, we
Mhm.
can't afford anyone insulting our trading partners, insulting anybody. So therefore, I believe that our government will have to put a bit more pressure on us and take away more of our freedoms the poorer we get. The way I see it is human rights is predicated on how much money you have in the bank. And you can see that. You can see that even in Australia. Poor people, homeless people are more likely to be arrested for doing something that a rich person can do every day. A poor country, their people need to toe the government line. Even in Indonesia, if you say anything like, um, if you say anything to criticize the president, I think you can be arrested in Indonesia. In Thailand, you see these people don't have freedom of speech because their countries aren't that rich.
Mm.
Even though Indonesia is projected to be the fifth largest economy in the world, which is also a threat to us. Indonesia, probably their economy may have overtaken ours during this, by the way, which means that we are under even more threat because
I can't hear you.
they are building.
No. Hello.
Oh, you hear?
You're buffering. You're breaking up. I can't hear you. The screen is frozen for
I
me. I don't
can
know about the audience, but
I can hear you.
oh yeah.
I can,
Okay, it's back. It's back. Yep. Finish off, and then you can answer the next question. Sorry. Keep going. Nope. Frozen again.
yeah. So really,
No. Okay. No. No. It's back again.
I'm
Wow.
back.
So, yeah, you are. Sorry. You are pixelated.
It's okay.
You have been the
Okay.
whole time. Sorry. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So, well, I guess that answers the question to some extent. Is that no, we will not be getting our guns back
Mm.
because that will go against. That will give us the ability to fight back against our government, and
No.
our government will have to have a little bit more control over us as our economy starts to slow. That's my
Okay.
belief.
Fair. That's a fair point. Dave, is anyone capable of taking the bone away from China? Is America capable of that, or would it have to be their partner, Russia? Like, who would be able to do that?
Oh, I don't think anyone is. I think
Mm,
I think
that's
that
scary, mate.
there's a possibility Russia and China might uh, because what I like to do is think about it. If I was coming up with strategies in China, what I would do is I'll definitely have Russia make a move
Mhm.
somewhere over in Europe. At the same time, China makes a move in Asia. So the United States will be spread too thin. They won't be able to protect everywhere, and it'll cost
Okay.
them. It'll be way too expensive for them to. It will be. It's the strategy that China's using with the South China Sea, and how Russia annexed Crimea. That happened at the same time. They both happened back around 2014. That wasn't an accident. That was a planned move. And part of the goal there is to use the same strategy that the United States used against the Soviet Union by making the Soviet Union spend way too much money on their military while destroying their economy. And that's kind of
Mm.
what's happening to the United States. Whenever you speak to an American and you say, "Oh, well, your economy is tanking and you guys are losing all of your market
Mm.
share around the world to China," they say, "But we got guns." It's like, okay, well, that's a good sign that things are not going very well for the United States, and furthermore, they might get even worse. They might
Yeah.
get pushed out of Asia entirely.
Yeah, they might. Sandy Turner again. You're on a roll, Sandy. Will the withdrawal of Chinese money from our economy crash it? Good question.
Oh, yeah, very
Very good
good
question.
question. Well,
He's a smart fella.
is it 30%? 30% of our economy relies on China. But one thing that people don't take into account is that our entire finance sector is reliant on the United States. So if we were to choose China over the United States, the entire economy would collapse anyway. So what we are is we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I still believe that we made the right choice, because uh, imagine if we chose China so that we could sell resources, and then next thing you know, the United States cut us off from international trade. It would be even worse. So
But why would the US do that to Australia when, like, you said that Russia was in bed essentially with China? Isn't Australia essentially in bed with Trump or with America?
well, if we chose China, if we
Well,
chose
hopefully we
China,
don't. Oh my God, that would be so retarded. But yeah, you're right. They might do that.
well,
Yeah.
that's essentially what that question was getting at. That was the
No, no, no.
crux.
I understand. I understand. Sorry.
So it was really, if China removes, which really that's where we're going. We're getting to the point where China will want to hurt us. We're stuck between two bullies, and if we choose
Mm,
one bully, the other bully will want to hurt us. That's
I'd rather the
that's
Christian nation over the Chinese nation.
well, yeah. Well, there you go. So that's really, we went with the United States, and uh, so China's going to do everything in their power to hurt us. It's
Yes,
just
they
how it is.
were. So earlier, No Lives asked a question, and you and I both didn't really understand it. And his explanation for for the fifth column is that. And thank you for the $5. Thank you for the super chat. I didn't repost it because we didn't understand the question in the first place.
Yes.
Okay, you've just
Um,
read it. A fifth. Yeah.
okay.
So should I
Yeah.
put his question back up so that
I
you
see.
can?
Mm,
Does
uh,
okay? There you go.
mm.
Can you answer it
Well,
or?
this is one thing that my channel is pretty much based around. You see, once
Well, then
one
he should yeah. Subscribe to his channel.
one
The
one
link is in the
thing,
description box below. Go ahead.
one one thing that we in the media we talk about is, it's not that we have a problem with the Chinese people. It's the Chinese Communist Party that we have a problem with.
Sure, I agree.
The problem is it's very difficult. It's very difficult to differentiate the difference. and, and if you go out there and to these in Australia, have some of a connection to Chinese Party.
I
The
can't understand what you're
wealthiest
saying.
Chinese
You sound like an
They're the
alien.
ones that have the ability to oh, really?
Yeah, I can't understand anything you're
Can you hear
saying.
me now?
Hang on, let me ask the audience. Maybe they can hear you fine. Maybe it's just me. Can you guys hear him? Hang on. Sorry, it's just your words are all. That's what you sound like.
Really?
Hang on. No, they can't hear you either. He's breaking up. I can hear you
Really?
again though. You just said really. You just said really twice, and it was very clear.
Okay.
Okay, I think.
How about
Go
now?
ahead. Yeah, it's fine now. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe China. Someone said in the chat is trolling us. Go ahead.
Okay. This there it's very hard to figure out who is part of the Chinese Communist Party, especially when
Mhm.
they're in your country. Part of the narrative that a lot of politicians and this has been adopted by a lot of commentators on China. What they do is they try to discuss China in terms of, oh, it's the Chinese Communist Party we have a problem with, not the Chinese people. But the problem here is that there's about 100 million people who are Chinese Communist Party members. 100 million. And the vast majority of them have interests in the West. When you think about it, as soon as China opened up, the only people that could leave China were Chinese Communist Party uh, members. So it was very obvious. The only people that could leave had to be connected to the Chinese Communist Party, and they came to Australia, the United States, the UK, and started buying property. They started
Mm.
working. They started acting on behalf of the CCP. Now they're far more sophisticated. So what they'll do is they'll send their son or their daughter over here to a university where the Confucius Institute is, where they're safe from Western propaganda. You know, they don't hear anything bad about Taiwan or anything like that. Um, but this is a very hard thing to figure out. Who is part of
Yeah.
the Communist Party, and what are we supposed to do? Go over there and ask them? Part of the, that's not going to work. And the vast majority of them, they are on WeChat. They're not on Facebook, so we can't monitor them.
Mm.
And so, what I propose is instead of just complaining, which a lot of people do, they just complain about what's going on. They say, "Oh, Chinese investment bad. Uh,
Mm.
give me, give me an give me some other uh, option, right?
Yeah.
But what I suggest is that we ban WeChat. So we need to ban WeChat. Uh, every country in the West needs to ban WeChat, and it shouldn't be allowed in our country from now on. And they should be forced to use Facebook so that we can spy on them. And
Yeah, that's not a bad solution.
we all know that Facebook is very good at spying, and so therefore we need to get as many Chinese on there as possible, and that's why Zuckerberg's been working so hard to get into China so that the United States can spy on them. Keep in mind, this is a big game, and
Mm.
that's the game. We want to get Facebook in there. How do we go about banning WeChat? Well, one of the problems with banning WeChat right now is that we don't have a platform that can replace it. And I've suggested this before in older videos. We have a lot of developers in Australia. There's no reason why we can't create an app and have an app that somehow can connect to WeChat, and we figure out a way to move especially the Daigos over to this app so that the Daigos can somehow connect to people back in China, the middle class that want to buy all these products. Because if we ban WeChat overnight, what will happen is all of these businesses, Australian businesses that rely on the Daigos, they become so reliant on the Daigos that if we ban WeChat, we would in fact go bankrupt a lot of these businesses.
Uh,
Um, that's something that hasn't been talked about, but it's quite implicit when people talk about the Daigos and how important they are.
mm.
So building our own app. And how can we do that? Well, I believe that we need to incentivize them. That's just how the world works. We need to incentivize the Chinese people to try and move over to our app from from WeChat. And what we do is we tax them. We make sure that they sign up, and we tax them hard. And then what we say is that, well, there's no tax over on this new app. And
Mm.
you know that the Chinese people, especially the Daigos, the only thing that they care about is money. And
Mm.
so if they can save money by moving over to the app, next thing you know, we've moved them over to the app. We keep our businesses from collapsing, you know, and and then we can ban WeChat. But WeChat needs to be banned. It needs to have been banned 5 years ago. In my Paul
Okay.
was created it.
Let's move on to the next question. And try keep the responses as brief as possible so we can get everyone to answer to get their questions answered. Margot, has China seized the means of production?
In Australia, they what do they mean? Like as in like our
I
farms
think she means
and
in China.
factories? Well, part of
Oh,
the deal is that we would invest in uh, businesses and move production over to China. And part of the
yeah.
deal is when you start up a business in China, you have to have a Chinese partner, and that Chinese partner steals your technology. Everything that goes into China, every business that opens up in China, you have to have a Chinese partner. And what that does is that helps the Chinese people get jobs. Why don't we do that in Australia? So every single billionaire Chinese that comes down here and buys a business, they should have an Australian partner and hire Australian people. Or every business in Australia should have 51% Australian-born workers, something along those lines. But yeah, they're seizing factories, then they fill them with Chinese people, and then everything gets sent all the way back to China. The ghost cities was really just a way of what they needed. What they wanted to do was it was more like providing jobs for the Chinese people. So
Mm.
so they in the early days they were just building these ghost cities to um, it was more just an infrastructure build to keep employment going. And then what they
Mm.
decided to do was they realized, hang on, we don't need to do this in our own country. What we can do is we can build the One Belt One Road initiative, and we can build not just cities, but we can build roads and trains in other countries. Plus, we can give them a loan to do it with a high interest rate. Plus, we can send our own people over there to work, and we
Excuse me.
can we can make we can make money in every aspect of this deal, which is very dodgy. And this is how the Chinese do business. It's all about money, and this is what the One Belt One Road initiative is about as well. The profits go back to China, and they get
Gee,
the
she's got a
infrastructure.
lot of questions. Yeah. She's a question hog today. What if Russia, Taiwan, USA, Japan, and Europe all go to war against China? That's a good question.
Well, we'll try. Well, Russia and China are best friends, so Russia and China will not be going to war uh, with each other. That's for sure. They're
Okay.
balancing there's Russia, China, and Iran. That's their group of people. And they have Iran produces the oil, and Russia's the
Yeah.
fighter, and China's the factory. So they've all got their own. Uh, that's their team coming up against our team, and we have a
Mm.
balancing coalition, which is supposed to be. It really is. It's supposed to be Japan,
Mhm.
India. Would you believe it? Australia and New Zealand, of course. South Korea is supposed to be part of this balancing coalition. Taiwan
Oh, okay.
obviously is, but it's a silent uh, actor, obviously.
Mhm.
And Singapore is one of the few countries that, even though it's majority Han Chinese, Singapore is one of the few countries that continuously backs our side. And actually, if you go to Singapore, they buy a lot of Australian products, by the way. You'll see a lot of Australian products you've never heard of before sold in Singapore. So Singapore is still on our team. But I've seen many naval strategists come out, and what they've got is
Yeah.
they've got a uh, they've got a few strategies. One is blockading the Malacca Straits.
Mhm.
That's in Singapore, and just cutting off naval trade. They're all they're discussing this, and this could be part of the reason why China uh, went into the South China Sea in the first place. But in my opinion, they never needed to. They just needed to remain peaceful and mind their own business, like every other country in
Maybe.
Asia. But South
Uh,
Korea, in my opinion, South Korea is a
I've been
dodgy
there.
actor.
Oh yeah,
I,
fair enough. It's like a mini America, only all Asian.
yeah, but there's something dodgy going on over there. They don't necessarily back us. And if you think about their position in the world, I don't really blame them, but it feels like South Korea's siding with China. It just feels like they're siding with China. And recently there was an
They might be.
election where
Mm.
Moon Jae-in won. This literally last month, and
Mm.
a lot of South Koreans think that it was rigged. When this virus started going around China in January, South Korea sent all of they sent all of their masks, they sent all of their equipment, they sent money to China. They did so much to help China. It's as if these two countries are in bed with each other already. Unfortunately Australians died in 1950 to save these guys, and now they're turning their back on us. It's
Yeah.
pretty disappointing to see what's going on. And also, the United States is working so hard to keep South Korea on side by
Mm.
continuously promoting K-pop and Korean movies, like that movie Parasite. That movie, I think it got an Oscar or something.
Oh,
But
okay.
the United States is working so hard to. It's all propaganda, obviously. It's how
Yeah.
you keep the people of South Korea focused on the United States by
Yeah.
giving them access to Hollywood. It's part of the reason why so many Australian actors are famous in the United States. It's not because they're good; it's because we're their ally, and they want
It's
us to focus
political.
on
Mm.
that. It is everything that I see is connected to, yeah,
Something bigger.
politics.
Yeah. Benjamin Molesworth, 2,000 years ago in the book of Revelation, that's the last book of the Bible, it says that any army of 200 million from the east will cross the Euphrates River to try and move upon Israel. Do you see this as a possibility now? Like with China, I suppose he means. I know you're not
Uh,
religious, but do you see anything in that we could extrapolate and that could relate to China?
I I have no idea. I have no
Okay,
idea.
no worries.
Yeah.
Um, we'll be finishing up, guys. Now, I don't really see any newer questions that are really worth asking when I'm going down.
Yeah, North Korea is a puppet state of China. Um, we've
What's
done
that?
a. Mm,
I don't know
yeah,
where you got that.
I think South Korea just wants to join their brothers in North Korea.
What is your
Mm,
favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
Um, Street Fighter, definitely Street Fighter.
Kylie Minogue's in that too.
Yeah, and that's it. So many Australian actors that became famous, and the United States does so much for us. It's amazing for
Yes,
such a
they
small.
do.
Mm,
Okay, I'm going all the way down. I'm not seeing any.
no conspiracy theory questions because I like them. They're far more juicy than movies.
I'm a conspiracy theorist at times, but I try not to be when it comes to like these things. Sometimes I'll offer and my audience conspiratorial alternatives, and then they can research it themselves. But yeah, no one seems to have any conspiratorial type questions here.
The funny thing is, I put a conspiracy theory into this video already. By the way, you probably didn't notice it, but I put a big
No,
one in.
Oh, did
Really
you?
juicy. I haven't said it anywhere else, and I think it is very juicy what I put in there before. Very juicy.
Oh, okay.
You didn't notice, did you?
Actually, no, I didn't. Spatnik, he actually answered this earlier, and he doesn't actually know if it started in a lab. No one really
No,
actually does. We all sort of just assume. Well, at least I assume that.
no, it's
Oh, the
not from
CCP
water.
lizard people.
Water. That's water.
All right, I'm only gonna
I,
ask two more questions, and then I'm getting off camera. So
uh,
let's have a.
the lizard people. That's that David Icke guy, isn't it?
I think he believes that. Yeah, just because one person believes that, it doesn't make them completely are not credible. Like, I think
Hmm.
people believe random things. I believe in God. You don't. That does that make me not credible? Like, it's an odd argument. But yeah, the lizard people's a bit odd. But I wouldn't mind interviewing him on my channel. I'm not gonna lie.
He also believes that 5G created the coronavirus, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know how those two relate. I've read all of that, and I still don't really understand that. But hey,
I, I,
I'm sure
I
it's
want to throw,
possible. I don't know.
I want to throw my theory in there. So
Yeah.
5G, obviously created by China. The United States does not want China to be building 5G all around the world. Uh,
Mhm.
and so what everything's about propaganda. And weak-minded people are easy to fall into the trap of conspiracy theories, and it's great to push conspiracy theories. And so the United States does not want Britain to build 5G and all that money to go back to China. So you see, what happens is you have the United States has the ability to put things in front of you on your phone and on your laptop, and I dare say something along those lines. Something like that probably would have been put in front of someone like David Icke, and now he's
Mhm.
pushing that it creates the coronavirus. Uh,
Yeah. Well.
what he's effectively doing is, if he actually believes it, he's been convinced somehow to push that propaganda around so that it helps the United States. So what they're doing is they're burning down 5G towers and things like that, and that only
Yeah.
helps the United States. So what you do is you get people that believe in these things, so that you
Mm.
make them act on your behalf. But if you were to come out and just say, look, we don't want you to build 5G because we want to keep the money instead of China, that's not going to work. But the lizard people and the coronavirus comes from 5G. That's a far better story, um, and that's a good way to keep your country rich if people believe these stories. So that's my take on
Mm.
it.
Fair enough. Guys, this will be the last question. I know that's probably annoying for everyone, but my back is killing me. I gotta go. So, Sandy Turner, would our withdrawal from the Federal Reserve be a good buffer to world conditions? I think that's a smart question to leave off on.
It seems like it feels like this is just
Hmm.
a feeling because no one really knows what's going to happen in the future. It feels like we are deliberately destroying our currency. It seems like we're deliberately doing it, and there doesn't seem to be good enough reason to do that, other than replacing it with something else. It just feels like that's the amount of money printing that's going on. Also helps, by the way, it also helps the cause. Well, by printing the hell out of the US, the reserve currency. What you're doing is you're effectively stealing money from third world countries all around the world. They get hurt the worst. They get hurt. They're hurting at the moment, and that creates political will to hate China as well, which definitely helps the United States. But are we going to are we going to destroy this system that we have? I don't know, but it feels like I think the United States has printed something like $3 trillion in the last month, something ridiculous like that. Uh,
Mm.
that's not sustainable, and it feels like they're possibly doing that. There could be a breaking point. That's why people talk about gold, which I don't think would happen, but that people are talking about something replacing it. But definitely, they would have to replace it with something else if they. And this goes back to one of the first questions, which is debt in China. You just erase the debt overnight when you replace it with a new system. And if you're printing the hell out of it and spending that money now, and then you just get rid of it, yeah, modern monetary theory, which yeah, it seems like we might be trying to replace it with something else if there's a breaking point, but who knows?
Yeah,
Who
I
knows?
think that's
Some of
true.
a lot of the data doesn't make sense. By the way, when I look at the gold price, they're printing gold. Gold is being
Yeah,
printed. By the
yeah.
way, I went on a massive romp buying gold over 2 years ago for quite a while there, and you can't buy it anymore. You can't buy silver. You go into your local dealer, you can't get hold of them yet they haven't exploded. So,
Mm.
um, but I don't think that's going to replace it. I don't think Bitcoin is going to replace it. They're going to replace it with something. I'm not exactly sure what that could be, but it wouldn't be a reserve currency. It might be two separate currencies. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of BRICS, Brazil, Russia,
Yeah.
India, China, and South Africa. So they could have their own currency, and we could have our own reserve
Oh,
currency.
so exactly what the Bible foretold. Fair enough. It's like a global currency. Yeah, that's scary. Well, I want to thank you,
Two
Dave.
different currencies. Mm, yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yes, I got physical gold because they're printing it. So they're actually
We're not
printing it.
answering any
So
more
what happened?
questions.
Sorry, where
That's
were
all
we?
right. No, that's all right. You started answering his question. Go ahead, finish off. Sorry, my back is
Yeah,
so
yeah,
sore. Keep going.
they're printing gold. So if you go online and you buy gold and it doesn't increase in value, it just feels like and some banks have been caught because people have bought gold and then they
Mhm.
have gone to the bank and said, "Hey, I have a few kilos of gold I'd like to collect," and the bank's like, "I don't have any gold. It's just digits on
Mhm.
your laptop." So there's a possibility that they might be found out. And if you hold physical gold, yeah, yeah, I don't think that weak-minded people are conspiracy theorists. I believe that conspiracy theories come from when the government lies to us and we try to piece together the puzzle. So a lot of conspiracy theorists are actually using their brains to try and piece together puzzles through circumstantial evidence to try and figure out what's the strategy. And when you think about the United States, they have convoluted strategies, and you never really know what they're going to do. They'll say, "Hey, look over here, something's over here, something's over here," but really they're doing something over here. This is the strategy of the United States. It's advanced strategy. And so people at home, they're looking at everything and they look at the history of lies that they've been told and they try to piece together the future. So they're trying to connect it up. But when David Icke tried to connect 5G to coronavirus, I thought that was great. Let him go, because what he's doing is he's helping our team. We don't want anyone to buy or have, or just, we don't want anyone to spend any money in China. The goal is to destroy that economy, and that's what the
Mm.
United States is trying to do. And we are going to suffer from the consequences of that. But it's better to have our freedom and a 30% smaller economy than to live under that type of regime. Hong Kong is a great example. How's your back going, dear? I can keep
It's.
talking all night.
I know you can. I can tell. Unless you want to take over the stream and I just go.
All right, all right. Just put me in here. I should go live on my channel one day.
Oh no, you should. You'd get so many
um,
views. Like you do well as it is. You have a fantastic YouTube channel, and guys, it's in the link. It's in the description box below. Did you want to
there's more,
finish?
there's more questions here.
I know, but I usually go for an hour.
Gold coins. Okay, question is about gold coins. You can buy silver coins. I like silver coins because worst case scenario, if we print the hell out of our fiat currency, you'll have the silver coins and you'll still be able to trade them. The best option for gold is you can buy these rings. And what you do with these rings, if you take gold with you when you go abroad, what they do is they tax you 10%. So what you do is you get these rings and you get a necklace and you put them all in there. So you can literally put like 50K around your neck and you can fly abroad and say that it's jewelry and it won't be taxed. Worst case scenario, that's World War III type thinking, but I'm not saying that you should go there, but still, yeah, silver just collapsed. So silver is a great opportunity at the moment. And they do say that silver grows more rapidly than gold when the fiat currency is printed. But when fiat currency is printed heavily, it's not the fiat currency being printed that actually causes people to go into gold. It's how they deal with it and what policies they put in place afterwards. People forget that they just think it's printing money that forces people to go into gold, and that's not really what happens. But there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's the entire global economy has collapsed, so there's so many stocks that have collapsed through the floor. There's so many opportunities out there if you have a bit of extra money, and it'd be a good idea to get into definitely some Australian stocks. The ASX just went back to what 2015 or something. So yeah, there's opportunities everywhere. When people are scared, that's the best time to enter the stock market. But that's only predicated on us having a future, and who knows how the future is going to play out. People that were investing in the United States all those years, like 50 years ago, that was based on the United States growing as yeah. Okay, let's shut it down.
No, did you finish what you were saying?
Stream shut down by Adia's back pain.
No, well, I didn't write that. They're pretending that I did something, that I wrote that. That's what those things mean. But thank you so much for coming onto my channel. You've been a very informative and enlightening guest. I hope everyone got a lot of valuable information from today's live. And remember, if you want to receive more information from Dave Lee, he has his own videos on his own channel. It's a fantastic YouTube channel. It's in the description box below. A lot of people want you to go live on your own channel someday. So,
I should do that. I should do that.
yeah, you should. Either in the day or in the night, or like just find a good time and go for it. Yeah, just because then you can go for as long as you want, and then you don't have to be restricted by the person who is suffering from back pain trying to act normal.
Better if I'm talking to someone too, though. So if you're asking questions or something, then I have a way to,
Would you personally feel weird talking to like the comments going by or something?
Oh, I guess you could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, I think that's what they
guess.
want. That's what they're trying to ask you to do, which would be cool.
That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
So we'll finish up
Don't
now.
watch
Thanks.
Parasite. Don't
Sorry?
watch it. It's a disgusting movie.
Oh,
Don't watch
Parasite. There you go,
Parasite.
guys.
It's
Don't
an
watch
awful movie.
Parasite.
Oh my god, I had nightmares.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I do like South Korean
Oh,
films. Well, I've seen
Mm.
one. I've seen the Ring version, which is also a Japanese film. But
Yeah.
yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Tomorrow we have, what's tomorrow's Thursday? So the Uncackables will be on at 8:30 with Tim Wilms, James Fox Higgins, and all the regulars of that. Oh no, actually, I think it's my friend Marcia and Australian Meditations. On Friday is 7 o'clock, my friend Logan Spalding's show. And then it's my own live at 8:30 again, and it's with a girlfriend of mine. So it's like me and my girlfriend, so it's a little bit different to the political stuff. And yeah, I think that's everyone I need to talk about. Make sure you subscribe to Dave Lee's channel in the description box below. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I hope
and put your notification bell on so you.
That's right. Yeah, the bell is important.
And,
All right.
and support on Patreon. You're not
Yeah,
going
support
anywhere,
him on
dear. We
Patreon.
haven't even finished. We've got another hour.
No, we don't, bro. Usually I cut it off at the hour because there's another live right after mine because I try to be as super respectful as I can. But he hasn't gone live
Are you
lately,
doing
so.
two? Are you doing
No, no,
another
no.
one?
Usually a
After
friend
this?
of mine goes live and I don't want to interrupt his time.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but he
Okay.
he didn't go live tonight, I don't think. Usually I would have cut it off a long time ago because of my friend James Fox Higgins. But I don't think he went live today, so I think it was okay. Thanks everyone, and thank you, Dave Lee. I'm just going to end the broadcast now.
Okay.
It's all right.